Welcome to GT Live.
Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to the first ever installment of GT Live. I'm Miguel Lopez, reviews editor at GT.com, and this is Daniel Bloodworth, lead editor.
Hey.
Today we're going to be running you guys through an hour of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. We're basically counting on you guys to guide our experience a little bit. So if you want to hit us up, use the GT Live hashtag on Twitter or go to facebook.com/GameTrailers and give us a shout. So to start out, this is the character that I use basically to beat the game with. This particular save is about 40 hours in, and I am in one of the cooler bits of player housing. As you can see here, there's all kinds of fine amenities to customize your character with and do all sorts of interesting things. Could actually re-alter my face here, but I figure I shouldn't mess with perfection.
Yeah, Miguel likes to make them as ugly as they can come.
That's not ugly though. That's pretty gorgeous.
Yeah, it's well, you got kind of the full circle mustache going, but.
Just to let you guys know what the reasoning behind some of this is, this character is named after our very own Mike TSA Damiani, aka Damianicus, the silent assassin, aka Guinness World Record holder for playing Zelda backwards. This is a cool place here. There's actually some little brownies hanging around.
Pet brownies?
They're pet and they don't seem to be aggressive. So yeah, that was just one of the little amenities of this lair. This particular layer I got from completing one of the guild quests. I won't say which one just in case you guys want to keep it a surprise, but you know, this is the kind of thing that's waiting for you at the end of those tunnels.
Yeah, so Miguel had a mage for his playthrough, and you guys voted for a mage, so that worked out very nicely.
Yeah. So let me just show you guys real quick before we head out into the world some of the crafting stuff here, since you know we're nearby and have the opportunity. This is the blacksmithing forge, and you know, just to give you an idea of what the gear is like, this is all stuff that I crafted myself, you know, an homage to some of the greats of baseball history. Ozzie Smith's unerring grasp. I know that at least one person on the 38 Studios team will appreciate these. And here is the corked mattock of Sosa, and my chakrams, Perry's ball scuffer. Anyway, give you guys a quick example of how the crafting works. I'm gonna put together a staff real quick.
So we have a question asking what impact did Kurt Schilling have on the game?
Well, you know, from what I hear, he's you know, he's obviously a big gamer.
Yeah, he's like the head of the studios, right? 38.
Yeah, I mean, he founded the studio, and he, you know, from what I hear, he brought everyone on board to basically make it happen. But he's also a, you know, a big gamer in his own right. I actually used to listen to him on a World of Warcraft podcast called The Instance. He was a pretty regular contributor on, which is pretty cool. So here is, you know, an example. This is how the game lets you compare the gear that you're, you know, that you find or that you craft. You could see the one that I just put together here without even paying attention is, you know, pretty comparable to the masterwork staff that I, you know, poured my blood, sweat, and tears into. You know, don't want to spend too much time showing you how to make potions and gems and that kind of stuff. Figure we should get to the fun stuff.
Yeah, it's all fairly similar. With the but with the crafting, basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be kind of deciding, you know, which things you want to just throw in your junk pile and sell off later, and then which things you want to disassemble that are comparable to some of the higher level gears you've gotten. And
yeah, and you get a vast amount of gear, and you know, the vast majority of it you'll probably end up scrapping or selling.
Yeah.
So if you invest in blacksmithing especially, you're going to have the opportunity to make some pretty buff stuff.
Yeah, you'll see things that will, like if you get a piece of gear that gives you like 1.5 regen or something like that, you know, you can disassemble that and put it into something you like a little bit better if you get the right components out of it. And then a lot of gear also has these different slots for the gemstones that you make in sage crafting, and so you can put a pretty hefty boost on the defense of a piece of armor.
Right. So the place where this player layer is located is it's actually one of the big capital cities in the game. Tons of stuff going on there, and as you'll see, it's going to take me a couple minutes of running to get to the destination. The next order of business is it's actually a quest that I wanted to show off, particularly because it is close to this the piece of player housing. It's going to be.
Let's talk about that nice little dash you have going there. That's a higher level mage technique there.
Yeah, basically, it's a buff that you unlock when you become eligible for one of the destinies, which is essentially like a sort of static archetype that you could qualify for by investing specific numbers of points into some of the ability trees. Once you get far enough into the sorcery trees, your default roll, which is the dodge that you could do as any character, turns into this blink, and as you progress through that, the blink will actually get all these other crazy properties. Like the one I have now freezes and does ice damage when I do it.
Now, another question we had earlier today from Scott Wheeler. He was kind of showing concern about there being a fusion of Oblivion and God of War. Is that what it kind of feels like to you, or I feel like people get different vibes off of it compared to what they're more familiar with.
I mean, yeah, that's as far as comparisons go, it's a pretty fair one. It's got the sort of it's a world that's geographically very large, and while there isn't as much stuff to do, I'd say, as you would find in a game like one of the Elder Scrolls games, there is like as far as like quantity of quests and maybe sheer acreage or whatever goes, like it's pretty up there. So
where are we heading now?
I'm heading to that glowing circle on my mini map, and I've forgotten how to get to it, but if you guys will bear with me, we'll get there pretty quickly. But taking the sights, this is one of the major cities in the game, so it'll take you a while before you get here on your own.
This one's what, probably about halfway through, or is this one farther on?
It's hard to gauge that stuff in this game, because if you make a beeline for the story objectives, you get here pretty quickly, but it took me a while, and I started this game and I probably spent a good oh I see what I did. This is where it exits you out. Sorry folks.
But yeah, I mean, I put in about 30 hours and I hadn't seen this area yet, so
yeah.
No fast travel point to there, or?
No, you actually can't fast travel in the city, so yeah, I guess I have to go through. You know what? Let's just fast forward a bit. I promise I'll do some mage stuff later, but I actually have a different save file that shows this very quest a little further along, and it's with a build that is spec'd out for a warrior.
So
yeah, it should be cool to check that out.
We've got some more questions here. Someone is asking how much freedom you have and whether you can actually get married in the game. What is there in terms of relationships?
I mean, there might be some stuff in there, but after playing for about 50-ish hours, I didn't encounter anything. There's one NPC in the game that kind of you kind of get the impression that things might go in that direction, but it never actually does. So from what I can tell, there is no hanky-panky in the Kingdoms of Amalur. So if that's what you're looking for, sorry folks. So just give me a second while I map some abilities, and then I'll be good to go.
Yeah, and if you guys want to ask any questions, go ahead and jump on Twitter at the hashtag GTLive, or you can head up facebook.com/GameTrailers.
So here's an example of like some of the craziest combat options I have. Right now I have a buff activated that basically makes it so that these guys' attacks can't interrupt me, which when you're playing as a great sword wielder, your attacks are just so slow that you definitely run the risk of getting smashed that way.
Yeah. And I was playing Rogue, and the difference there is it's more about speed. So you would go in behind an enemy, and you'd be attacking him so fast that he basically can't react to you.
Right.
So, you know, and the Rogue also has an ability to kind of do that quick jump behind an enemy as one of your abilities, using a little bit of mana.
So you see here, I'm charging up my crazy whirlwind attack. If I didn't have this buff activated, it would have been pretty hard to do that, because I just kept getting the crap knocked out of me. I'll take a quick detour over here to activate one of these buffs. Oh, there, my buddy just popped up in front of me.
Is that like a partner, or?
Yeah, it's just the NPC that's kind of scripted to participate in this quest with you.
Oh, right. Yeah, I saw some of those.
So just to give you some context, this quest is about, I would say, like the latter portion of one of the other faction quests. And I just kind of left it here so that I can have something to play with and show you guys. Yeah, I keep missing these guys in my crazy attack. When I go back to my mage build, you'll see some of the more catastrophic abilities that really do render a lot of the fights trivial.
Chrono Soldier 19 is asking if there is a new game plus, and essentially it's you don't really end the game. You once you finish the story, everything is still kind of there, open to you. There are some extra benefits. I don't know if there's anything you'd feel comfortable talking about.
Yeah, I mean, just along the lines of once you play the game, you'll see that when you complete certain milestones in the story, certain things will happen. You know, expect something, you know, an order of magnitude higher than that when you actually beat the game. But yeah, no need. The game just continues, and it's unlikely that you'll have done everything by the time you beat this game. There's just like so much stuff in there that yeah, no new game plus as such. Someone called Lassie asked that mentioned that they've noticed levitating human enemies in some of the gameplay. Can you get levitating powers as a player too? I think what Lassie's asking is like we just saw with those caster enemies, how they start to levitate off the ground when they're casting their spells. You do get some spells that, you know, have that effect, but it's a cosmetic thing, you know, like there isn't a power that makes it so that you're, you know, just levitating instead of walking.
Right, you're not really flying around, and there's not any kinds of mounts as far as I know either, right?
No mounts.
But
you know,
usually when you're going through the main overworld, it's pretty quick to get around just through, you know, fast travel with your map.
right.
So once you've been to a location, you can get back there really quick.
Stop it.
So you see there's a lot of poison effect happening here. Is that a sword effect that you have, or is that an ability?
That is the result of a set bonus. Yeah, it just so happened that when I was playing through the main campaign, I found this like really gangstered out set of warrior armor. So,
Okay.
you know, when I switched to this build on a whim, I was pretty decked out already,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah, and a lot of these effects do stack up pretty well. The rogue has an ability that puts poison effects to all of his attacks. And
You played mostly as a rogue when you played, right?
yeah, I did straight up rogue. You can also, you know, do split builds and things like that, which I think could be pretty interesting. But you know, when we're trying to get through these and get to the higher level powers, it kind of helps us to invest in those kind of one-directionally. But it does reward you for doing split classes, and you can respec for pretty cheap costs whenever you want to, if you want to try out something different.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the builds that people are coming up with online, and these are people who haven't even played the game yet, and they're already concocting some like crazy min-max shit, which is pretty surprising. Well, maybe not that surprising. Really.
Another thing you'll notice is that part of Miguel's mana bar is kind of closed off there. That's because he has an active ability that's doing a permanent change to his attacks. What is it that you're using right now?
I forget the name of it, but it's basically something that buffs my buffs attacks that I perform in a sequence. I can show you real quick. where is it? Yeah, it's called
Battle
Battle
Frenzy.
Frenzy. So 100% total damage increase unlocked for your 6th consecutive kill. Blah blah blah. So yeah, if you basically beat the crap out of stuff, you're doing more damage the more you kill.
And that's how the rogue's poison works, and a rogue also has one that boosts critical attack rate as well.
So Brentor asks, have you tried might finesse builds, and if so, how do you like them? I believe you did, but I haven't. I mainly.
I haven't done might finesse. What I did was a might sorcerer. So basically, he could use a big old hammer and also cast spells.
Right. Yeah, that's basically what I did. And you know, to be honest, I focus more on like sort of mono flavor builds, just because when it comes to my flavor of min-maxing, that's, you know, that's the most intuitive thing for me. But yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like you could get away with doing that and, you know, thrive. So I get a second here, I'll show some of the advanced destinies. So here are all the ones that are unlocked on this build of the character. As you can see, I'm using the ones that are exclusively might based. The last one is still unlocked, which requires, you know, a crazy investment of 109. But yeah, like some of the higher tier destiny configurations give you these really burly benefits. Like this one, automatically resurrect with 20% health. Health drains until an enemy is killed. So, you know, that's pretty cool. So he's asking about might and finesse. So these are the kind of benefits you get. You know, this is the sort of a more modest investment. You get bonuses to melee and range attack damage, you know, all
and
the way.
then critical hits later on, it looks like. And
Yeah,
then
all the way
what's
on
down there
down.
on those bottom ones? Like if you scroll down a bit,
Right.
piercing damage. Piercing damage is pretty good for your arrows.
Right.
Damage and stealth. Yeah.
So yeah, you basically get, what I found is that the sorcerer is the one that has the sort of coolest buffs that are unlocked in that way, that aren't just purely, you know, straight up like mechanical buffs. Like the blink is something that's, you know, somewhat changes the way you play.
Yeah. Matt DeVille had asked earlier what our favorite Destiny class is, and you know, you definitely, you know, as he's been saying, he's on sorcerer. I went rogue. I think as you start to play with one or the other, you'll kind of find,
Right.
you know, that you like a certain play style. You know, I like to be able to do the stealth kills. I like to be able to do kind of a parry attacks that you get later on,
Right.
and just be able to dodge a lot more efficiently.
Right.
Whereas you would just stand at a distance and annihilate everything with a big spell.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's kind of like what the late game was for me in Amalur, just standing back and clearing the room. So, you know, I got a nose for this kind of stuff, and I discovered a secret door back here.
Xborn X is asking if you can save armor sets for quick equips on the fly.
You cannot do that.
Yeah, there's not like a full setup. You can save them in a stash in your house, any old armor that you like, but you still would pretty much have to just go through, put it in your inventory, and equip each piece by piece. The armor sets do, you know, like the one Miguel has, they do have unique sets that give you specific bonuses that are fairly rare or hidden in specific areas.
Right. Yeah, this in fact, this set is something that I found in one site, and you know, it's not as cool as my Major League Baseball custom crafted armor, but you know, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and yellow is that indication that it's part of a set.
Yeah.
Kind of color coding going on.
So it's got, you know, pretty good attributes. Oh yeah, in the previous iteration of this build, I actually dumped a few points into chakrams just to be able to have some to mess around with mid-range, but you know, I decided to go all in with might if I was gonna be showing something like this.
So how much farther do you want to go into this? You want to head back to your mage yet, or got something special planned for us?
Yeah, you know, I think people got a feel for what the might builds are all about. Let me just kill this one guy. I'm bummed. I realized that I didn't unlock the shield bash stuff with this build. So I've been trying to do that for like 5 minutes without realizing that it wasn't available. Okay, so yeah, let's get out of town.
And Christopher Palmer on Twitter asks if there are ways to use different class weapons on a specific class, like a bow with a mage, etc. And that really goes back to what we're talking about, the split classes. The weapons really aren't limited to any kind of class. When you're investing points, you're investing really specifically in a weapon or in abilities for a certain branch. So you can easily use a bow with any class if you just want to invest in those bow skills on the finesse side, and then keep the rest of your points on your mage or your warrior.
Right. If you want, yeah. I mean, if you want to use any old bow, you could just equip it. But to use the better ones, it's going to require you to have invested a certain amount of points into one of the specific trees. So yeah, if you want to equip something good, you do have to invest in it. Here is like, you know, just to give you an example of how crazy the gear gets in this game. This is all stuff that I found and haven't bothered to disenchant or sell just because I might use it one day. So, you know, there's definitely a lot of some gear inflation going on here. This is a cool item here, and this speaks to something that folks were talking about. The Universalist band, this drops the gear equipment requirements, the equip requirements by 20%. And there's also a build, one of the Destiny builds that does the same thing. So if you set that one up, then you could basically equip all this high-end gear while still having invested in all these different talent trees. So that's one way the game makes it viable to do that stuff.
Yeah, that's nice. I didn't see those yet. I hadn't gotten that far.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Quick one, Ryan Engel asks if there are any first-person views in the game, and there's not at all, really.
No.
You kind of get that little...
yeah, you get to check it out.
Over-the-shoulder cam. Brad on Twitter asks if there will be a lot of DLC like Skyrim is doing.
I don't know.
Well, there's the House of Valor is technically DLC, right?
Right. Yeah.
It comes with the unlock code that everyone was screaming about.
Yeah, it's the incentive that they've put forth for you to actually buy the game new at retail, and all that does is it unlocks basically another series of faction quests.
And this can go pretty long. I don't know how long yours were going, but I would think at least 6 hours or so.
Yeah,
for a faction quest.
They're definitely the more involved quest chains in the game. So, you know, I mean, I think that's why they did it, right? So that people will be motivated to buy at retail.
Yeah, and actually, you know, if you're going to be invested in the world, that's probably the best way to find out about, you know, the Sealy Fae and the Unsealy Fae and all this other
Can you explain
craziness?
You speak about this lore very cogently, Daniel.
I just think it sounds funny, but basically the Fae are the Amalur equivalent of elves. They're magical beings that they don't really die, or when they do die, they kind of get reincarnated. And the Sealy Fae is basically their way of saying, you know, people that look like humans, and the Unsealy Fae are things like brownies and trolls and that sort of thing. See, on one of the comments on side missions from Zendeus asks if we played the PC version and if there's any significant differences. We haven't played the final PC version. I played a little bit of the demo, and obviously it's looking a bit sharper, probably not as sharp as a PC player would expect, I think. But the demo is not the best to go off of.
Sure. I reviewed this game, and they didn't send us a PC version, so yeah, unfortunately I haven't been able to play that. I'd like to, for sure. So you guys bear with me while I trek through the streets to get out into the world. What do you think of, to close this off, we just come back into the city and just like wreck shop and annihilate all the townspeople? Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think that's something people probably haven't seen much of yet.
Yeah.
There is, like the Elder Scrolls games, there are crimes when you loot the wrong chest when somebody's watching, or if you slap somebody or kill somebody. And there's even certain rewards if you get 10,000 gold and bribes paid off to the guards and that sort of thing.
Right. So Chris Lee's asking, how's the game on easy? My mom enjoyed Fable 2 and 3. Will she be okay playing this game on easy?
We don't play on easy.
I'd say she'd probably be okay playing on normal, man.
There are some parts. I don't know if you did the House of Ballads quest, but the boss on that quest was pretty brutal, at least for my rogue.
I find that the times that I died is because most frequently because I took like one big hit and I didn't respond quickly enough with a potion.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Did you do the House of Ballads or not?
Yeah. Well, I didn't finish it, but I know what you're talking about, and I did get that far. Yeah. It was that big old troll, right?
No. That's not the end. The very end of it, basically you're fighting this boss, but the lower you get the health bar down, it keeps summoning more and more enemies. So you basically have all these things flying around you, shooting ranged attacks, and you're trying to get the boss down, and it just gets more and more intense. So you're out in kind of this mountain highlands area.
Yeah, I'm just looking for trouble right now. Like, people want to see some magic, so
yeah,
I figured I'll show them some chakrams.
Oh crap, there's Bogarts.
Yeah.
That one's chasing a firefly.
Well, he should have stayed on his game, huh? Let's see. This character has detect hidden. All jacked up. So yeah, here we go. Here's some shit to get into. Yeah, just to give some context of where we're at. This is relatively deep into the game if you're going by where the main quest is going to take you. Even still, I would say that I'm pretty buff for this region. Like, the stuff here typically doesn't put up much of a challenge. I would like to show you the stuff further along in the game, but I don't feel right going to like the latter portions of it and ruining that for you guys, so I hope you guys are cool with that.
Let's see, from Facebook, Spy Diggity is asking what the advantage of going finesse over might. It seems like might just has more survivability. I think with finesse it's a lot more in terms of playstyle. Like I said, I was doing a lot of dodges, and you get things like crit bonuses and bleeding bonuses a lot, and you also have your ranged weapons. With the bow, you can take out a lot of these smaller things like the boggarts and the spiders just with a couple of bow shots, whereas the guy doing might is pretty much relying entirely on his defense and his armor. I found,
it's all a matter of playstyle, in my opinion, and I'll show you one of the more spectacular effects right here. So that right there is one of the sort of tougher enemy configurations, the Sprite champion and all of his little homies.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example of something I would have just stood back and shot a bunch of arrows at, and they would have been gone just about as easily.
But yeah, this is now you see the destructive power of this Death Star.
Bornex from Twitter is asking again. He's asking about spears. I don't think there are any spears.
No spears. A might build does have like
the long swords and great swords, and then the hammers on might. And then, as you can see with the mage, there's the staff, which has a lot of elemental effects, and the chakrams. And there's also scepters, which are essentially like similar to the bow and arrow, only they're using mana and they're shooting out fire or ice, that sort of thing.
And I got bored of those very quickly. Once I got some decent chakrams, I kind of just made a beeline to those skills. You can do cool stuff like, think of the chakrams kind of like the Kratos blades. They behave more or less that way.
Destroying this guy's farm here.
Yeah, well,
not much growing.
Why do you have to build it in the quest zone? But yeah, this right here is like the sort of the spell that sits at the apex of the sorcery tree, and it just destroys the shit out of everything.
Oh, Lorestone, this is free XP right here.
That's right. Although plug your ears if you don't want some of this intriguing lore spoiled for you.
Well, the funny thing is you'll find some that are kind of jokes along the way too. So if you're into those,
Hey.
you can listen, and if not, you can just get your free XP. Curbster is asking if they fixed any of the bugs compared to the demo, and I will say from first-hand experience that most of the things that I hated in the demo are just not in the game at all. You know, you've seen us kill a lot of boggarts, and you haven't seen any of that nasty texture stretching across the entire world or anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I only played the demo a little bit when we were doing a test for this, and yeah, I mean, load times on that were pretty bad. And
yeah, and what else was in the demo that was pretty bad? The main thing for me was this skipping conversations, and I played for 30 hours, and I saw that happen maybe one time.
right. If you guys are just joining us, this is the first ever installment of GT Live. My name is Miguel Lopez, and I'm with Daniel Bloodworth. We're running through Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. If you want to get at us, use the GT Live hashtag on Twitter, or you can go to facebook.com/GameTrailers and drop some questions and comments.
Let's see. Next question here is from Wade on Twitter. Have you ever come across any gear that you could not equip, or is it scaled to your level? And well, it kind of goes two different ways. When you're building towards a certain tree, the gear is the main thing that kind of benefits from that. So all the gears have requirements for finesse or might or sorcery.
Right, and you find plenty, like, as a sorcerer, I found plenty of...
oh no, the spelling.
Oh shit, here we go. This right here, sorry man, we'll get back to your question. This is like the deadliest thing in the game. It's the dispellable chest. I'm very likely going to get screwed up right now real bad, but we'll live.
I've died more from these chess mini games than from enemies.
Let's go, boom.
I'm sure of it.
I failed to, I got the curse of null skill.
But now go to your
oh shit,
your
look at
status
this.
and see what that actually means.
You know, it was all worth it, right?
Yeah, 88, great. So
Sorry
yeah,
about that,
hit your status and let's see what this curse actually does. This is the thing that you kind of have to go here to find out what it's all. Oh my gosh.
Shit, that is no good.
So that basically makes you stupid, is what they're saying. So
You
the
know,
curse of stupidity.
I can't afford to go any further in that direction, man.
But yeah, so curses, pretty annoying. You can pretty much only get rid of them by going to a town and finding somebody to spell them for you.
Yeah, it's mainly an inconvenience, and it costs money, but if you've caught a glance at my gold total, you know that I'm just rich, you know?
Yeah, and then I've had, oh, you gotta show it off, don't you? Yeah, I've had times where I've hit those chests open and it just knocks my HP all the way down, and then, you know, back to your last save file.
Yeah. You know, some tell, yeah, there's a treasure chest right here.
But yeah, just to finish up on Wade's question, it's largely a matter of, you know, gear. I think it's scaled more towards an area, because like as you see, we're back here, and the gear is kind of low level. So it's not really watching what your character is at so much as the farther you get in the game, the higher level gear you're going to find.
This guy made a big show of like spawning, so let's see how long he lasts. Boom. Sorry, bro.
See, let's next one from side mission from Ottawong. Yeah, I know we didn't want to talk about achievements, but he asked, do you think it's reasonable for 100% completion? Just like I was saying earlier about that one was like 10,000 gold in bribes, like that's not something I would ever naturally do. So I don't know if I would,
you know, from what I've seen,
spam crimes to do that.
It seems like it's reasonably possible, although there are some that are marked as secret, and I don't know what the heck they are. But I would wager that if a lot of them are dependent on unlocking specific builds, the fact that you can respec fairly easily makes it so that you could, you know, relatively simply do that, I think. All right, here we go. There's a quest right here. The Polling Wand. Give the wand to Cerebel or Graham. Who should get it, man? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
You don't know what they're wanting it for.
Yeah.
That's not good.
I'll give it to the first person I see. How about that?
These can actually sometimes have unexpected rewards. One of the earlier quests where you have a decision of what to do is how you essentially get your first house. And that stash is pretty valuable, so you want to tread lightly and make sure you get yourself a house.
Yeah, I mean, I found that there are a few opportunities in the course of the story where you kind of can avoid getting one. So if you don't go out of your way to hunt down these side quests that do that, you're probably going to be cool, I think.
Let me see what's next up here. Oh, here's one that I probably don't know the answer to. I don't know if you do. Side mission comment, Diablo 1023 asks if there's a level cap. Do you read anything on a max level?
I would wager that the level cap is at least the level it takes to unlock, what is it, 109?
Right.
So, you know, I'm level 30 and I've got level 30 and I got 91, so do the math. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't.
Maybe 40 or 50. Hard to say, but we've also, as we've mentioned before, you kind of don't need to worry about hitting the level cap because you're going to feel pretty all-powerful, probably around 20, 25.
Yeah. But, you know, I think people who play on hard will want to check that out.
See how far they can go.
So somebody called Dinfire asked, do the enemies scale as you level up? Seems like you're killing them pretty easily. The answer is that they don't seem to. I mean, it's just like you go to a region and the enemies are that level. You see these here are, you know, scaled to gray, which means weak. And yeah, if you revisit areas where you're, you know, beyond the level cap of, then you're gonna run over stuff pretty well. And honestly, I found that it wasn't much more difficult when I was in the higher level areas either, at least on normal, you know. People are saying that the game does get harder on the hard difficulty, and that it's not simply a matter of just increasing hit points or increasing the damage that the enemies do or whatever. Apparently it works that enemies will be able to get more hits in on you, rather than when you're getting a beating, you know, the game just kind of cancels all the other attacks. Like, it basically gives the enemies the chance to pound you while you're being pounded, for lack of a better term. And
yeah, probably like that boss fight I was talking about.
Right, exactly. So, you know, I could see how somebody who's playing on the increased difficulty will appreciate, you know, the sort of relative buffness that higher levels give you, certainly.
Let's see what else we can go through. Earlier today, Dave Wadecki on Facebook asked if how many races there were in the game. And there's 4 races that you can choose from. From what I could tell, they really didn't matter other than aesthetically.
They give you, basically, they give you bonuses to specific skills starting out.
Right, right.
So I kind of just picked one on a whim, and I ended up not really specializing in the skills that they give a bonus to. But I found it didn't make a big deal. I just say go with the one that you think looks the coolest.
Yeah. Also, in terms of just the world, there hasn't been a lot that I saw that really refers to those races once you're started. Mm-hmm. It is pretty much a jumping off point.
Yeah.
Like that.
That was fortuitously timed, wasn't it, Daniel? So let's how about a change of scenery? What do you say? Want to check out this desert? Seems like there's...
Oh yeah, go to the mine there. Egon's tomb. That's a Ghostbusters reference, isn't it?
It very well might be. Rich says yes, so...
There are, as tends to be in these games that have a ton of stuff in them, there are some clever little references. I found a Hammer of Dawn that had a bonus during daylight.
And it's Don as in Don Mattingly, right?
No, it was...
Hurt?
That's one of your crafted items there.
There you go.
You're being attacked by one of the Sealy Fae there.
They die just the same.
Yeah.
What?
Let's see, who else is asking?
Musico Macarado says, are there armor sets that benefit crossbows like Finesse, Might, Mage, etc.? That's a good question. I've only found armor sets that have one requirement, one specific stat.
But in another Facebook, Adnan Pelek asks if the world's affected by your actions. And I guess there's a lot of different ways you could, kind of couch that. Like if you go in and you destroy a bunch of people in a town, you're not going to be able to shop there.
Evidently, if you, I haven't done this and like actually save the game after, but if you kill NPCs in a town, they stay dead.
Right.
And it won't let you kill quest givers whose quests you haven't fulfilled yet, but once you've gone through everything they've got to offer, yeah, you could basically annihilate them if you want, which is kind of crazy.
And there are, obviously some of the story quests where you have choices. There are definitely consequences in those in terms of who's alive and who's, dead on the roadside afterwards,
So Taylor Sanders asks, does the protagonist have personality in relationships, or is he, she, the strong and silent type? Yeah, definitely the latter. You do get some specific lines to choose, as you've seen when you get to choose dialogue, but it doesn't really affect your expression, or I don't know. I didn't get much of a feel for the character's personality, apart from the really excellent mustache he's wearing, which again is an homage to our very own Mike Damiani. Here we go.
Tyler Michael Smith asked if there's a karma system in the game, and I can't.
Like an alignment system, no?
Think
Oh,
of
yeah,
anything.
did it. There you go.
I can't think of anything really like that.
Yeah, there's no alignment system. You could be nice or you could be a prick if you want, but it doesn't seem to have much of a bearing. So
it's a hidden object there.
Yeah, as you've noticed, like, every 5 steps I take, I'm picking something up, and that's because I've invested heavily in the detect hidden skill, which makes it so that all the hidden stuff in the world just appears on your map, and you know how it is. It's like a Pavlovian response. You see the treasure chest on the map, and you just got to go grab it.
Yeah, it basically gives you more treasure chests, and there are also these huge walls that will just fall down and have a secret passage there. So if you're the type that's going to be looking for those collectible rare sets of armor and things like that, Detect Hidden is definitely something you're going to want to invest in. And it also, there are a few times where we've seen it affect conversations. Some of these extra abilities will give you an option here or there in specific conversations that wouldn't otherwise be there. And if any more of you have questions, go to our Twitter with hashtag GTLive, and our guys will pass them on to us. And you can also go to facebook.com/GameTrailers. So what else do you have going on here? You just killing some sorcerers, or?
Yeah, just wanted to check out this environment. That this is one of the environments that the main quest doesn't really take you too deep into, so I think it'd be cool to explore so that people who are making a beeline for the main objectives get a chance to see what they may be missing. So there's this site right here that seems like kind of an interesting place. So let's try to see if we got time to make our way over there. Although I don't know, maybe we should just call this and go wreak havoc on the city and see how long we last.
Yeah, Will on Twitter is asking if there's a limit to the amount of inventory you can carry, and there definitely is.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're gonna find that the most precious treasure in this game is gonna be the backpacks that you get to buy to increase your inventory limit. I think you start at 80, and then each one you find scattered amongst the merchants and all the cities and regions.
I think it might actually start at 70, but I don't remember for sure. But
yeah, they increase it by 10, and you find, you find so much stuff in this game that
And that includes potions too. So what I would inevitably do is, because I'm not really a potion guy, and there are stacks and stacks of potions you can get in this game. Whenever I would start getting close to my limit, I would just go through and just start spamming potions. Because you can have 3 active potions at a time.
Oh, you could have more than that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, let's...
when you boost it up, you get more than that.
Let's do a demo right here. I'll take this.
Drink some potion.
Boom. Boom.
Precision, intelligence.
Yeah, this is my routine whenever I would find a boss, just to like...
Yeah, experience booster, you do
guarantee
that, right?
complete overkill. I'm probably...
Some of them actually boost blacksmithing and things like that,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
So let's see.
Yeah. Look at that side of that screen.
A grip of potion effects right there. I'm all doped up, man. They better not do a blood test right now. You know what I mean? From Facebook,
Casey Bruton is asking if you can charge spells like you can your weapons.
Yeah, you can. So I'll give you an example. It's usually a function of unlocking further skills along one path in one of the trees. So here is my default lightning spell. It's just well, sorry, that's the gangstered out one. I'll do the default one in a second once it recharges. So yeah, the default one is just like a lightning bolt, and you could do that pretty early on. Here is the default ice spell is like, you know, a barrage of ice, whereas the buffed one is this cloud of ice that persists. And there are some pretty interesting spell mechanics. I'll unmap my crazy power here to give you an example. So this right here, this is one that you mentioned you didn't like too much, Daniel.
Yeah, I was just kind of fiddling around with things, but then you were using it a little bit more regularly.
Yep. So should we go in here, or should we go wreck a town? I don't know. Seems like we got a few minutes left. Time might be better spent just wreaking havoc, huh?
Yeah, well, you got to show off that spell.
Sure.
Where are some enemies? Killing everything.
Let's go to town here.
See, Zet Scott on Facebook is asking, when attacking elemental enemies, is there a balance? Does water have more damage to fire, etc.?
There is, and the game will often tell you when you attack an enemy with an effect that it's vulnerable to.
Right.
It's pretty clear about that, and it'll also specify when an enemy is resistant as well. So
and that goes for, again, things like poison and bleeding. Their enemies are going to be specifically vulnerable to those.
All right, here, right? This is a good spot to wreck shop. All right, let's go.
You got to turn on the friendly fire.
That's right.
There you go. Then make sure you can't do it by accident. If you're going to be a jerk, you're going to be a real jerk.
And all of a sudden, everything is aggro.
Go to jail or resist arrest.
I plead insanity. Holmes, let's go. Yeah, these guards have a lot of health, you see. So this is the spell I was talking about. You basically mark targets and then you detonate them, and it like costs like no mana, so you could crime committed murder. Yes, indeed. So, yeah, when we were just messing around with the game, we did some of this, and these guys will literally spawn forever until they kill you. So it's a good. This is like a hidden feature in the game. It's the endurance mode.
On Facebook, or not, Nate asked if there's any chance for multiplayer to be implemented. Not in this game.
Yeah, I mean, this. I believe that 38 Studios' plan for this franchise is to eventually turn it into an MMO, and especially seeing how this game has turned out formally, it's easy to see how one could go down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And actually, it's kind of easy to see how this could be a MMO that would be on consoles as well, because it essentially does everything you would expect.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if it works exactly like this does, then certainly, you know.
Just might have to get one of those keyboards for your controller.
Right. So here, you can see what the mage is all about here. Let me take the gloves off.
Yeah. Now, if you have any last-minute questions, hit us up at hashtag GTLive, or go on to facebook.com/GameTrailers, or you can also comment on our side mission page. So we've got time for a couple more questions here. Michael Ladd on Facebook is asking if major chunks of the map are instanced, or is it just cities?
What do you mean by instanced? I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering on that.
Yeah, I guess if he means that if they exist in the open world, or if you have to go into a loading screen to check them out, like pretty much all the big cities will. Oh, look at the fine! Wow. Should I pay the fine? I'll just, man, forget
Didn't look like they'd let you pay the fine, but maybe.
But yeah, like most of the big cities, and certainly all the dungeons and stuff in this game do require you to go into the loading screen, whereas a lot of the smaller settlements just kind of exist in the open world.
Right, and the zones, as you saw before, with the highlands, the forest, with the desert, you can walk between pretty large chunks fairly seamlessly. There's kind of like a narrow pathway that you'll go through, and it will load in the background, so you don't have to constantly be going through loading screens. And so essentially, you can walk around for a pretty long time before you hit a loading screen when you're going from like the forest to the desert or something, and it needs a whole new set of textures.
Mm-hmm.
Side mission, One Korea asks if there's a best version of each type of weapon with the game. Probably not that you've seen, right?
Yeah, I'm not even sure if there's a best one. I mean, there probably is, I'm sure if you do some quests that nobody knows about, there's probably some crazy item out there that will be super burly, but I think the stuff that I have is best enough,
Right. And there's essentially set tiers of weapons that have random stats, and your crafted weapons kind of follow along with that. Only you can kind of manipulate how those work.
Right.
And then they have completely rare items with the unique textures and things like that, and then the armor sets as well.
Yeah, you get the opportunity to a large degree specify what the precise properties of the crafted gear is, and you find so much stuff that has so many different effects that you could pretty much go for anything you want.
In fact, I think the best item of anything in the game is probably something that you make. If you stock up the right ingredients and components and get something that you can slot some sage stones into, I think you could probably end up making something better.
Yeah, when I basically decided to take up crafting for real, all of my stuff was like epic or gold quality, and I made some crafted greens that were, masterwork level that totally outclassed them. So I wouldn't be surprised if the stuff that you get is.
Troy Hamilton on Twitter is asking if there's any banks in the game. Not really a need for banks. You don't lose money when you die.
He probably means like stashes. Where like all of the player housing in the game has a stash where you could like dump all your gear that you're not using or stuff that you want to break down.
I do
later
remember.
For
wasn't there somebody in one of the cities that was asking for investments? You could kind of do that kind of thing to kind of grow your cash. And then the mine, if you unlock the mine as a player house, you can upgrade that and stop by for cash now and then. Though cash, like most RPGs and adventure games, isn't really something you need most of the time.
Yeah, I find that my perception is that the big gold sinks in this game are repairing your gear. If you aren't able to do it yourself as a blacksmith, like that stuff is pretty costly. And also just
the trainers.
Now the trainers don't cost, like once you've got a good amount of gold, like that's not a very meaningful amount of money. Like what costs a lot is the items that are for sale at vendors, which do tend to be, in my experience, better than what you typically find. look at the size of my find. Resist arrest.
300.
You'll never take me alive.
On Facebook, Dan Rodriguez is asking,
No.
hang on, wants to know if the game will play well on mouse and keyboard for PC players.
You know that we never got a PC version. Fortunately.
Yeah, I only played a very little bit of the demo.
I wager that this is a game you want to plug the controller in for, though.
But I don't know. I mean, it's still very much, left click and right click, because you're just using this same two buttons there, and then you have your hotkeys.
Sure. I mean, I could see how it would work,
perfectly
but
playable.
I don't know. What about the when you do the quick time kills? Are you really going to be wanting to spam your mouse or spam
I don't want to spam anything, honestly. I don't. This is one of the things I'm not really a fan of in this game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely a control pad game. I mean, it would be cool, certainly, to have more hotkeys unlocked. Like, I've got it worked out so that basically the spells I use the most are these 4 that I have here, and it's made it work okay. But I definitely would have loved to have had access to more than these 4.
Right.
And that's where, that's certainly where I could see the PC version having a leg up, apart from the obvious hardware stuff.
Also, Facebook, Kyle asks if you find yourself backtracking a lot for quests, or do they more often take you to new dungeons or areas? And that really kind of depends on how you play through it. If you jump through the main quest pretty fast, you're going to have to go back to the older areas for side quests. But from what I could tell, most of the dungeons you went in were pretty much there for specific quests. You wouldn't go into a dungeon itself multiple times.
Yeah. I would say there is a good bit of backtracking, but the fact that you could fast travel to any location that you've already visited just kind of diminishes that. And in fact, if you basically allow yourself to lose sight of the main quest and focus on side stuff in any meaningful way, you are going to go well out of where you started, far away, well afield. Looks like we're just about out of time here, folks.
About 2 minutes left to go.
Yeah.
Here's a kind of, it seems like a funny question to me, but Dave on Facebook is asking what we feel the replay value is, and I don't know if you need to worry about that, because I don't know if you'll finish everything.
Yeah,
to begin with.
there's so much stuff in this game that I don't think it's useful to think of it in terms of replay value. If you get really into it, you could play this for dozens upon dozens of hours, I'd say. I mean, it's,
Yeah, and again, with the different builds as well, you essentially have 3 very different fighting styles. So if you did want to just start from scratch, you can go with one of those. You can go with that mixed build that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And experiment in those kind of ways. But you can also do that in the midst of hundreds of hours that you're going to be spending trying to do everything the first time around.
Sure. Well, folks, this has been the very first installment of GT Live. We hope you guys had fun, and that you'll join us for any further adventures we choose to do in the live space. Thanks again. I'm Miguel Lopez, and this is Daniel Bloodworth, and we hope that you guys dug checking out Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning with us. Till the next time.